Saturday morning to you, and welcome to On the Mark with Mark Papa. I'm Gary Byron. Mark is co-owner of Financial Resources Group. They are in Glastonbury. You can find them online at www.frplan.com. That's frplan.com. The reason why I say that is because if you miss the airing of this show or any portion of it, he does podcast this show right from his website. So you might want to head on over to frplan.com. He also has his own YouTube channel where you can also catch this show. It's very easy to get to. Simply head on to YouTube and look up Mark Papa. That's Mark with a K, M-A-R-K, and 2 P's in Papa. Actually, 3 P's. P-A-P-P-A. Mark Papa 5207. And by the way, his phone number, in case you are intrigued enough or you want to schedule a consultation, 860-657-8380. 860-657-8380. And by the way, I will repeat those points of contacts a few more times before the show is over. Mark, good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning. How are you? How was your week?
You know, the week here, I tell you, it's a lot of fun. It's busy. As you know, I do political talk radio on Monday through Friday morning. So obviously there's no shortage of that between getting a new president and the new 2025 legislative session just kicking off. We're never at a loss for topics to discuss.
Yeah, no, and I want to bring something up while I have that before we get started
Please.
With what we left off last time. One of the things that kind of is one of the most annoying things as a advisor in the state of Connecticut is having to fill out this form called a W-4P. And that W-4P tells the state that I don't make $1 million a year and you shouldn't be taxing me 6.99%. So Connecticut is a mandatory withholding state on all IRAs, annuities, and retirement accounts. And I would love for somebody to step up and give these retirees a relief, because what's happened is they've cut their pension, they've cut off Social Security, as you and I both know, we campaigned on that. But if there was something I can do as a courtesy to all retirees in the state of Connecticut, why, if you're cutting their pensions and the tax on their pensions in half, and you're cutting the taxes on their IRAs in half, or whatever the case may be, are you making them withhold 6.99 when their real, true effective tax rate is probably somewhere around 3.5? And what I'm seeing is everyone's getting these big refunds from their state tax dollars. And one of the things I'm going to just go off script for a minute here is the state is holding that money for the entire year as you get your distributions. That money should be given back to those retirees, and they shouldn't be getting these large refunds at the end of the year. You should be able to spend that money during the year. If you want to do something good for seniors in this state, that would be a great opportunity.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a really good point. Mark, excuse me, what's your favorite part of your job?
I would say helping people discover some of the things that they need that need to be fixed, and helping people in general. Helping people is the number one driver in helping them avoid pitfalls. So aside from having the CYA, the Control Your Assets report, is essentially like a home inspection report for your retirement. And think about it. Now, Gary, I think you just sold a house and bought a new house recently.
I did, yeah.
All right. And now, so you find a house that you love. It has the perfect views, and the living room is just the perfect size. You love the bedrooms. You love the layout. You love the kitchen. Perfect outdoor space. Are you just going to pull the trigger and write the check, or what are you going to do before you buy that house?
No, I got to do my homework. Of course, yeah. I'm going to have it inspected. I want to make sure that I'm not getting ripped off. Of course, we're in a different housing market right now than traditionally.
The fluff that we're in, where people are waiving that. And one of the main reasons why do we get that done? I mean, do we want to make sure that there's nothing, on the foundation, or there's cockroaches, or there are things under the surface that are eating away at that house? But also, we want to get in there and make sure there's nothing in there eating away at that retirement.
Right.
So that's why we call it just like a home inspection report. And now, if we do find things, those things need to be fixed right away. For example, some things may do right away, but others, like let's say in the home, you find a loose board on the deck. Does that have to be done immediately, or can that be done in the future?
Not too far into the future. It doesn't need to be done immediately, but I wouldn't wait too long. Somebody could get hurt.
Yeah, you wouldn't wait too long. And then, so those are just as an example is you get to decide. I speak with everyone who comes to me is you decide what you want to fix, what needs to get done, and in what order. Okay?
Yeah.
Because what kind of advisor would I be if I'm telling them, you need to do this, you need to do that? Does anyone like to be bossed around and told what to do?
Of course not. Nobody.
Yeah, I'm really bad at being bossed around. So. and there may have been a generation, the greatest generation that sort of respected authority, but who am I dealing with mostly right now? Then who came after the greatest generation?
The baby boomers.
The boomers. And do you think boomers like to be bossed around and told what to do?
No, they like to be the boss and tell people what to do.
Exactly. So the more I can work with them to help them in a self-discovery way, just figure out what issues they may have and then what order to fix those things, guess how much better our relationships are, and guess how much quicker those problems get fixed.
I would imagine, yeah. So that's great.
That's I think what makes me a lot different is having what I'd say a very, very powerful tool is focusing on a lot of this non-financial stuff that, again, most people don't get paid to do and ignore.
I got to tell you, Mark, I've had many different conversations with financial advisors, personally and professionally, just with this show. What really separates you, you talk a lot about non-financial issues. And I remember last week, if you want to recap that, it's a brand new show. Some people may be just hearing, maybe they didn't tune in for some reason last week and are just tuning in for the first time now. You were talking about estate planning. You were talking about wills. You were talking about, power of attorney. You were talking about having an awkward conversation about, items, whether it's money or tangible items that somebody may be leaving behind to somebody, and how the importance of not only getting everything documented, but getting that seal, from a notary public.
Oh, yeah.
These are things, though, Mark, that a lot of people, they either take for granted. Oh, it'll get all figured out. But if you don't want it to go to probate, right? I mean, my goodness, that could take forever. I mean, do you deal with living wills? Do you deal with estate planning as well as so that something doesn't have to go to probate? Or talk about all the non-financials that go along with your job.
Why don't I get into that, and then we'll talk about where I left off with power of attorney and banks and brokerage firms and Social Security and all that fun stuff. We do have a will review checklist that we help people do their discovery. Just as a recap, we also recommend that they obtain a digital executor so that this way, when they pass away, their Facebook account isn't floating around and people can go in and monkey with it and things of that nature. So they can either memorialize it or shut it down for good. But you need to actually fill that paperwork out. And as a freebie to the listeners, if you Google digital executor Facebook, typically the instructions will go in. You can actually put that name a person who you would allow to go in your account and shut it down for you after you pass away. Okay. So that's a good one. Now, trusts, we don't get too deeply into trusts again because I'm not a lawyer. We do have, again, a service that our clients can go on. It's a digital virtual law firm. They can actually go online. They can actually start or update their will. They can get a power of attorney and a medical power of attorney up to date, free of charge, at least once a year to get that. But one of the main things is, with trusts, I ask two basic questions. And again, we don't get too deep into trusts. We understand them very well. But we'll ask them, do you have out-of-state property? And they'll say no. And so on my website, there's a quiz under estate planning on www.frplan.com. You'll see estate planning, and it's a short 2-minute quiz. You take that 2-minute quiz, and it'll let you know whether you need to lean towards a trust or you need to just basically have a basic will. Okay? Mm-hmm. And down the road, what I'll do is I'm doing a whole segment on the importance of making sure your beneficiaries are done correctly. Okay. Most people think they have them done right, and unfortunately, there are chances that, as a preview, they may unintentionally disinherit grandkids down the road if they don't have those done correctly. Yeah. So that's a whole nother topic. But when it comes to trust, we'll also say, well, do you have maybe a special needs child? Or do you have a child who's a spendthrift or a child that may need additional care? And in that case, maybe a trust is more, they would want to lean more to a trust than they would just a basic will. But we don't spend tons and tons of time on that because in that case, we do have a network of at least 3 lawyers, attorneys, estate planning, and elder law lawyers. In fact, it's bigger than that, but I'm saying at the very least, there's at least 3 that I have geographically around the state that I recommend people go to if the event they can't figure it out on their own.
Okay, that's an attorney. But let me ask you, what is a durable power of attorney, and why do people use them?
Well, that's a good question, because some people think a power of attorney is, all-encompassing document. But to keep it simple, Gary, there's a type of power of attorney where someone might just say, I'm going to give you a power of attorney because I need to sell a property in North Carolina. And Gary, I'm old. I can't get to North Carolina. I don't want to travel. But here's the power of attorney. I'm going to entrust you to sell the land for me and go sign the documents. All right. Once that deal's done, that power of attorney is gone, right? So that's a power of attorney. So people mistake that. A durable power of attorney is for your financials. So it's not like, for example, it gives somebody that you trust the ability, in the event you are incapacitated and can't do it on your own, the ability to go in and manage your financial affairs. For example, they might be able to, deposit checks in your bank account.
Oh, okay.
Pay your bills. And this is a pretty important topic that we like to cover, because a lot of times people don't realize that their durable power of attorney doesn't work. Like I mentioned earlier.
You mean it's not being honored?
Not being honored, or it's going to take extra steps or additional paperwork to get that done. So not only that, it's not even that. What about your home insurance? Let's think about this for a minute. Is home insurance, when they go to cut you a check to reimburse you for damages, financial? Right?
Wait.
Let's say I have a disaster and I have a claim and they're going to put a new roof on my house.
All right.
And I'm incapacitated. The insurance company, I can't talk to the insurance company, but my power of attorney, my durable power of attorney, would be able to work with my home insurance company.
Right.
But would you want to know how your home insurance would deal with that financial power of attorney?
Of course, I'd want to know.
Yeah. Would you want to know? Or would you want delays in getting your roof done, or have to come out of
No.
pocket?
That's got to be done immediately. But if I'm incapacitated, I mean, there's many degrees of incapacitation. You could be in a coma where you can't communicate at all.
Right.
Right.
But even simple things like your home insurance company. What about health insurance? Even, a lot of people don't realize that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So the main thing I want to talk about in this case, though, is actually go back to that Social Security. That and if you Google Social Security power of attorney, you'll find out that there's many articles. Your power of attorney does not work with Social Security.
So last week you left off with a teaser for today, for this morning, and you said something that really got my attention, and I would imagine many others as well who heard that. You said, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote, it was a week ago. You said Social Security can kill you.
Yeah. In fact, that's a great point. So, I have many articles, about 6 or 7 articles.
What did you
I can
mean by
share
that,
with folks.
Mark?
Well, they obviously don't go in and kill you.
I'd hope not.
But it happens accidentally. It could be. Remember, we mentioned the government, can make mistakes.
Sure.
And there's been many stories documented where people, you're among the living, but according to Social Security, you're among the dead. Okay. I have an example of that, a live example, 2 stories, but let me share the one about the professor. He's a retired professor, and he was going to go bowling with his buddies on the weekend. And he went to the ATM, and basically the ATM said, "Your non-sufficient funds, your account's been closed." And it's on a Saturday, so can even, the bank branch, is there anyone you can go in and talk to? So he's like, wondering what's going on here. So just a little bit, what happened to your blood pressure if you knew that you're...
Oh, I'd be livid.
Yeah.
It figures. Always happens on a weekend, right, when the banks are closed.
Exactly. So I'd be livid. So he goes over, says, okay, well, I better go get my blood pressure medication. And he goes to CVS or, not CVS, the pharmacy.
Yeah.
And says, walks up to the pharmacist and says, I'm here to pick up my blood pressure medication. And they're like, look at him. They said, we're sorry, we can't give you the medication. Because what's the health insurance attached to your
HSA?
Social Security? For retired people, if you're on Social Security, you also have, it starts with an M.
Oh, Medicare.
Medicare. Right. So that's attached to your Social Security. So when Social Security accidentally kills you, guess what happens to your health insurance?
You have none.
You have none. So Medicare. So now the pharmacy says, well, we can't, it would be fraud if we give this to you. We can't do that. Now what's happening to his blood pressure?
Oh, it's through the roof now.
It's through the roof. So not only is he half his Social Security check, because his wife still gets hers, gone, Now he has no health insurance. So guess what happens to this guy? It gets a little worse.
Is this a true story?
This is a true story.
Oh,
this is
my
a documented
goodness.
story. He ended up having a stroke, and now he's incapacitated. And his wife, again, she's not obviously stressed, obviously very stressed. His wife actually calls up Social Security and says, not only have you killed my husband and we're not getting our Social Security check, our Medicare's been shut off, we have no health insurance. What kind of pickle is she in right now?
Huge.
Huge pickle.
Wow.
It's a giant pickle, right? And then, so what ends up happening is she calls Social Security and they're like, we're sorry, why don't you put your husband on the phone? And he's like, well, he can't talk.
He's incapacitated.
And she's like, well, we're like, sorry, we can't talk to you. So she goes to her files and grabs a copy of her power of attorney and goes down to Social Security, puts it on the desk and says, now talk to me. And they're looking at her like, we're sorry, honey, we can't talk with you. And what they had to do is explain that you actually, that Social Security, if you Google it, it says Social Security does not honor as a way to, manage your affairs, your perfectly legal power of attorney. In fact, they have their own version, their own form. And that's what's called a representative payee. It's a form,
goodness.
I think it's form 1696. And so what we do is we help people not only be aware of that form 1696, but we help them jot down a little letter explaining that they want to appoint this person to be their representative payee. So you actually have to make an appointment. You have to go to, if you're in our area, Hartford area, you got to go to Burnside Avenue, make an appointment with Social Security.
East Hartford.
Yeah, in East Hartford. And you actually have to go fill out that paperwork and get appointed in order to manage their Social Security.
You have got to be kidding me. Folks, you are listening to On the Mark, along with Mark Papa. I'm Gary Byron. He's got a website. Check him out at frplan.com. I keep FR Plan, is that Financial Resources Group is the name of your business that you're a partner in. The website is more the acronym, frplan.com. Write this phone number down as well, 860-657-8380. That's 860-657-8380. I'm going to share all of those points of contact as well as the podcast information and his YouTube channel more towards the end of the show. Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Please continue.
Oh, no, that's not a problem. Obviously, how important, So as an advisor, what kind of advisor would I be if I knew that every one of my clients was vulnerable to this potential liability?
Well, you want to be proactive. You want to protect them.
Yeah, right. And if, as their advisor, I better make sure when it comes to Social Security and Medicare, they're getting what's happening.
Yeah, you want to get their full benefits.
Yeah, making sure those benefits don't get shut off. Because here's another thing. Identity theft is another big deal. I'll talk about down the road. But what would happen? Are you aware that, the IRS has sent, multiple checks to, one home. And so it's one thing if you have fraud on your Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
You can shut the Social Security off, no problem. How do you get it turned back on is the question. And that's another example, aside from the professor being, let's say you're in a nursing home. Now, when you're in a nursing home or people coming in and out of your house, are you seeing more and more less people you know? More and more people you know, or less people you know or more? So you're exposed to people you don't even know. And guess what type of identity theft happens inside things like nursing homes and assisted living facilities?
Well, I thought there was a commercial years ago where, was it LifeLock? Some guy used to put his Social Security number up on a billboard, and you don't see that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, those are great, but the LifeLock, so when it comes to that identity theft, the LifeLock is, put it this way, the alarm goes off when the burglar comes in the house, right? We want to keep the burglar out. So a lot of the things that we do is we try and help people with identity theft knowledge, whether it's the AARP website, Federal Trade Commission has an awesome guide that we give our clients. But we want to make sure that they're in no way, shape, or form. We want to protect you from identity theft.
Is it safe to say your business is all about preventative measures? Before things actually, there's companies, hospitals take care of you after something has already occurred. Mm-hmm. But you're there so that something doesn't occur. So you're preventative.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to just give people as much front-loaded information as a preventative measure. Another example is the IRS. So if the Social Security doesn't honor your power of attorney, guess who else doesn't?
Yeah, the IRS, Internal Revenue
IRS.
Service.
So that takes what's a form called 2848, and you have to fill that out, get that approved by the IRS. So
But
that you
who knows
can-
these forms even
company.
exist?
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Thank God.
Okay, call me and we can help you walk you through that process.
I'm still in amazement of all. I've never heard of a lot of what you're talking about. I didn't even know a lot of these forms existed. What about some quality of life directive and why that helps people make tough decisions when the other person can't for themselves?
Okay.
And how
Yeah.
it protects people, right? You're fighting for
That's
it.
a great point. So that's an additional form that we attach. So we talked about the durable power of attorney, our financial. So that's for our money. So the medical power of attorney is going to be for obviously healthcare and medical decisions, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So one of the main things, though, why do people need a medical power of attorney? So if that person, you're putting somebody in charge of your life, your medical power of attorney, they're there to make, there may be life or death decisions that need to be made, right? And, would you want to make it easy for that medical power of attorney or hard?
Of course, you want to make it easy. It's
You wanna
possible.
you want to make it easy. So let me talk about medical power of attorney, and I'll just segue right into that.
Sure.
Because one of the things is a medical power of attorney or healthcare proxy. That's a legal document. So it's on legal paper.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can carry around in our wallet? or
I
purse?
hope not. You shouldn't. You shouldn't even carry your social security number with you.
Yeah, probably not, right? No. But I mean, is that something we're going to leave in our glove box when we're driving around?
Leave it at
or is
home.
Just leave it at home.
Leave it at home.
So when you actually, I'm driving around. When I had my son, actually, I got this. I'll talk about this service in a minute. I had my son. I had all my wills and everything done. Okay. I thought it was extremely important to have once I had my son. Obviously started driving a lot slower and being a little bit more cautious. But let's say, for example, I got in an accident. I'm rushed to the hospital. Okay. And the hospital's going to say to me, Mark, you're banged up. You're going to need emergency surgery. Does the hospitals like their paperwork, or they hate paperwork?
Who likes paperwork, Mark?
Yeah, no one
Nobody
likes
likes paperwork.
But how about the hospitals? Are they going to make you fill out a one-page document, or is it
No, it's
multiple
usually a
forms?
booklet. It's of forms. Yeah,
Tons and tons
If
of
you
forms.
can, I mean, it depends on the condition that you're in. If you're coming in through the emergency room on a stretcher, you can't fill anything out.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to fill much out. So, however, so they love their paperwork. So, the paperwork that the hospital puts in front of you, do they let the compassionate, warm-hearted physicians write that paperwork, or who do you think they hire to do it?
Attorneys.
The attorneys. And who are the attorneys here to protect, you or the hospital?
Well, of course, the hospital.
Of course, the
That's
hospital.
their client.
Yeah, that's their client, right? So they're there to protect the hospital. So let's say, for example, the doctor says to me, hey, Mark, you need emergency surgery. I need you to sign here. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm out of luck. My power of attorney is sitting home in a lockbox. What am I going to do?
You have no choice. You're going to have to sign.
I'm going to sign the paperwork, right? Now, once I sign that paperwork, guess what happens to my medical power of attorney sitting at home?
That overrides it.
You nailed it, buddy. You got it. This guy's pretty smart. So you nailed it. So Gary, you absolutely knocked it out of the park. That paperwork for that time, that the hospital, guess who controls everything?
The
that happens?
hospital does.
The hospital.
And
Now-
what do you think? They're looking out for their own benefit, their own wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're there to take good care of me. However, if there's a mistake or something goes wrong, guess what? And so if you have your medical power of attorney, though, let's say, so if my medical power of attorney is sitting at home, how do I get my medical power of attorney to that hospital? Right? So there's a way to do that. So what we recommend, and I actually cover for anybody who comes on board the very first year for couples, so it's like discount, $25 a year. You can actually, on a digital vault, get your medical power of attorney, upload it to that digital vault, and you get a little card. And on the card, it says who my important contacts are in an emergency.
That you want to carry with you.
That you want to carry with you. It's a little card in your wallet. Put it right next to your license and your health insurance, because where's the paramedics? The first place
Yeah,
they're
they're
going
going to go to your wallet.
Or you can put it on your cell phone, because a lot of times...
Well, they may not be able to get onto that through passwords and codes. And
Yeah, they may not be able to. I don't know if there's an emergency break-in. I'm not exactly a paramedic. I've heard stories from both sides, but here's the big picture. You can have that, your medical power of attorney anywhere in the country with an 800 number sent directly to that hospital. So that means even if your medical power of attorney is in Connecticut and you're on vacation in California, they can call the hospital and prove that they are the person who can handle your affairs. They don't have to jump on a plane and get to the hospital, get a flight, rush there. So do you see how that works?
Yeah.
So at the very least, would you, even if you were local and let's say going to Hartford Hospital and you live in Newington, do you want them when time is of the essence, rushing back to your house all the way to Newington?
Oh, no.
Going to the lockbox,
that's
grabbing
time.
the copy.
That's time.
Exactly.
Time is
faxing it to the
it's
hospital.
of essence when you're in an emergency. It's life and death is
So
seconds.
In life and death is seconds. So you'll have all that all buttoned up. So, and what I'd like to do in the next episode is start off. We'll talk about the quality of life directive, because that's a lot more detailed. And that quality of life directive is, for example, Gary, if I were to build a home and I only had half a blueprint, how hard would it be to build that house?
You need the full blueprint.
The full blueprint. So essentially, the next segment, when you come out of the next show, please tune in. What we're going to do is talk about why it's so important to have that quality of life directive filled out and sitting directly with your medical power of attorney, so it has all the right information, instructions to help you take care of you and help that medical power of attorney. We'll go into it in more detail in the next segment.
What an interesting show this is, folks. I mean, I love all the shows that I do. They're always informative, regardless of who's I'm sitting across from and what the show is. They're all informative. I always learn something. But this falls under the interesting category. This falls under the did you know category. And by the way, let me give you some information as far as how you can sit down and have a discussion with Mark. I would say start with his website for Financial Resources Group. It's www.f as in Frank, R plan, frplan.com. Okay, FR is an acronym for the name of his business, Financial Resources. So it's frplan.com. Write this phone number down as well, 860-657-8380. Okay, that's right. I'll say it one more time, 860-657-8380. If you missed any of this show, you can simply head on over to his website, because you can replay this show on his podcast, which is right on his website. He also has his own YouTube channel, which is Mark Papa, MarkPappa 5207. For Mark Papa, I'm Gary Byron. Thank you so much for listening to On the Mark with Mark Papa from Financial Resources Group. Until next Saturday morning, have a good one, everybody. So long.